some noise for.
I told him when I come back, we're going swimming. So, tell everybody thank you, Kirill. Скажи, дякую.
Дякую.
Не, английский.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, что? Very much. Еще раз.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Future president of Ukraine right here. All right. Greetings, everyone, and welcome. It's March the 26th. Welcome to my channel, Greg Terry Experience, also Nick's channel, In Time, Independent News, Nick Soutter. I'm going to go ahead and jump to both of us. This is a co-stream tonight. It is live on my channel and also live on Nick's channel. So, Nick, I'll say welcome to you, and you can say welcome to me, and we've got all the bases covered.
My name is Nick Soutter. This is In Time, and we would like to thank Greg very much. This is the Greg Terry Experience, who is hosting this. He is a supporter of Ukraine, and we are fans of his content. He's been on our channel a number of times. Not enough, unfortunately, because we get to mock him ruthlessly every time he's there, and I haven't had enough of that. But thank you so much for organizing this. I appreciate it and delighted to be here with you.
Well, you're very welcome. I knew this morning this afternoon rather, I put out a video on Greenland and Canada, really focused on Greenland. Because to be quite honest, you know, I want to shoot for facts. It's like last night we were doing a joint stream with Johnny Pierce and Jonathan Fink and Professor Gertis. And, you know, it's getting so complicated to separate fact from fiction. And even you and I were discussing this earlier in regard to things that we're hearing out there about future plans, future movements. And what I appreciate about you, Nick, even though we probably we have many different viewpoints from left and right, but we still want to try to get to the truth and be ethical in our journalism, in the way we cover it, in the way we talk about it. And that's why I appreciate you so much as well. Don't want to get the cart ahead of the horse. Don't want to cause panic. Don't want to scare people. Don't want to put wrong information out there. We want it to be accurate. And today we're going to share a lot of accuracy. We're going to talk about Ukraine. We're going to talk about the ceasefire. We're going to talk about Greenland. We're going to talk about Canada. I've got video in from Vladimir Putin today, 2 videos from Zelenskyy, a video from Podolyak, Trump, Vance, you name it. We've got it all covered. And that way we can look at it factually, and then make our conclusions. So, thank you for being here, and thank you for all that you do as well. And we'll jump right in. It's 6:20 Eastern Standard Time. I can tell you guys, if you're wondering right now how the air raid alert is looking inside Ukraine, then I'll show it to you right here. As you can see right now, 75 to 80% of Ukraine is under air alarm currently. There are Shaheeds flying in from multiple directions. In fact, I had a question asked, and a gentleman had done a buy me a coffee and was asking me questions about drones. I'm actually going to be putting out a video. I'm working on it, and I've got my notes right here, on why the drone strikes are so successful now against Ukraine. And there is a reason, but we've had drones come in from this direction tonight, and we've had drones come in from this direction tonight. That's all of them. And now they've wrapped around even all the way over to Khmelnytskyi. So this is what's happening, and there have been some pretty significant strikes tonight, and we're going to be looking at that as well. But what I want to talk about first, Nick, is the ceasefire. So I'm going to provide you with some information, and then I want to ask your opinion on it. And as we do that, I want to say thank you to everyone for being here and being a part of tonight's stream. And I need to hit the right buttons. So let's start with
we share producers. Obviously,
my producer's my thumb right there. Let's hit the right button. There it is. So this is the information coming out from Ukraine today. It was released out of the office of the president, where now another day has passed. There have been strikes last night. It gets down to technical terms, okay? Because last night, a portion of Mykolaiv, a big city, was de-energized. Kryvyi Rih was struck. It is hitting like substations, electrical substations, but it's not like the direct target of like a fuel depot or a power plant. But energy infrastructure is being hit, and equally, if not even more important, civilian targets are being hit. So Ukraine clarifies today, and they state these things. It's obvious that Russia is playing for time. Even Donald Trump admits that, and we'll be on that later in the program. All sides recognize the ceasefire as one already in place, and that is true. That's going back. It was predated for when Trump and Putin had their conversation, which means it means Russia's broken it already many, many times.
That was the 18th, right?
That was the 18th.
Okay.
The Kremlin only recognizes preferential conditions for Russia. This is Ukraine reviewing today, which is true. That is why Russia came back. We want these addendums, economic sanction relief, reconnecting to SWIFT, release of sanctions or relief. Russia wants to impose its own vision for the energy ceasefire. Russia has refused to consider stopping its strikes on Ukrainian civilians. In fact, before the program, I was showing Nick a couple of pictures that we'll be showing in just a moment, and he was like, oh my. Russia plans to enlist the United States to assist it in exporting Russian agricultural products. This is Ukrainian information coming out, and Russia was promised that Europe will remove some of the sanctions off of Russia. That came from the American delegation telling Russia, hey, we can convince the EU to release some sanctions. But Ukraine is asking today, how is that going to be implemented? Because today the EU said, no way, there's going to be no sanction relief. So we have a nothing burger, to be quite honest. How are you observing this from your view, your understanding, your experience?
Well, I think, because I've seen a number of your videos, I think you would agree with me that the concern for Russia isn't Ukraine joining NATO. The concern for Russia is they want all of the former Soviet satellite states back. That's what they want. That they might join NATO is not something that they're looking forward to and would be counterproductive to that goal, but that's their only concern about when it comes to them joining NATO. So in Putin's mind, there is no alternative but to wipe out Ukraine. None, period, end of discussion. Zelenskyy knows this. So you've got two people who are at the negotiating table pretending not to know what the other one is thinking, when really and Trump, who's sitting there buying all of this, going, oh yeah, we can work. No, they have mutually incompatible goals. Zelenskyy wants Ukraine to not only survive, but to thrive, to get back the land they've lost. And Putin wants it wiped off the face of the map so that he can get on to the next country.
I think that's very fair. In fact, I played a video yesterday or a couple of days ago where basically Russia is saying this: U.S., if you, who was it? I think it was Podolyak again. If you don't know who Podolyak is, Mikhail Podolyak is an advisor to the office of the president, been there since the beginning of the war. He's a politician. He is a journalist and he's a master negotiator. And we'll see a picture of him later in the broadcast and a video clip from him. But he was making the statement like this: Russia is out there just saying, okay, we'll give you whatever you want. You want help with Iran? We'll help you. You want help in the Middle East? We'll help you. You want help figuring out something with China? We'll help you. You want to do some joint digging in the Arctic? We'll help you. We'll partner together. But we want Ukraine. You see, a part that's very important that people don't understand is that warm water port of the Black Sea, and the access that comes through the Black Sea for Ukraine. That is that is one of the reasons it is so valuable. And that's one of the reasons that Russia just won't take it off of the table and they continue to do their assaults. Now, speaking of those assaults, tonight, within the last couple of hours, this is what a couple of the cities look like. I can tell you there's been massive strikes in Kharkiv. There has been massive strikes in Sumy, and there have been massive strikes in Dnipro. So the mayor, I can't show all the video because it'll show like the full explosions, and I don't want to get censored by YouTube or wounded people. There are right now, the last number was 14 wounded in Kharkiv. This is a view over the city of Kharkiv, and you can see the smoke rising there in the center of the city. There were Shaheed arrivals near a soccer field. I've driven past this soccer field many, many times. It's pretty well known. It's really nice. And there were some people out. I mean, there's still a large population living in Kharkiv, folks. And there was guys out playing some soccer, a little like a men's league, rec league, and they're videoing it. And I am going to show that video. So I'm going to warn you now, you're going to hear the Shaheed, and it's going to sound like a helicopter. And you are going to see soccer players, and these are grown men in a men's league running toward the corner of the soccer field. I can tell you that nothing hit near them. None of these guys were wounded. They're all safe, but this will give you, and I think I'll be okay to show this one. This will give you an understanding of what Ukraine is living under. And I remind you, Kharkiv, they're close to the border of Russia. So just listen, guys. This is reality. And this is why Ukraine is coming back, Nick, and saying about the ceasefire. We just don't see how this is going to work, because you may not be hitting some thermal power plant right now, but you are demolishing our buildings and our citizens and our hospitals and our churches. Zelenskyy says it tonight. So I have pre-warned you. John Smith, yes, I want to hit that right there. So no shout out for the 4 dead U.S. servicemen. Listen, as an American, I know, Nick, you're the same way. We're getting the news about the 4 lost soldiers. Yeah, it's terrible. But the reality is I don't know what to say. I'm trying to figure out what happened. And when we do, we'll pay them tribute. But of course, in Lithuania there, something weird. I think we can agree on that. Something, so we'll see. We're working on that. So guys, I know I have a lot of older, a lot of good grandmothers in here that love how we do things. So I'm just telling you, you're not going to see anything bad, but you're going to hear it, and you're going to see these guys running. This is reality of in Kharkiv about 2 hours ago. You can see all the guys running into the corner. They said a colorful word or two, and you can hear the Shaheed. Let's listen. You can see the light in the background, the car going by. Unfortunately, this is the reality of Kharkiv. I've heard that sound many, many, many times, and let me tell you something. No good, man. It's no good to hear. Additionally, Russia using a completely new tactic on striking. And I'm going to do a video on that. I'm planning hopefully tomorrow, and it's why they're being much more successful in striking these civilian targets. And I guess for them, that's success. Additionally tonight, guys, let's look at this one. And I know when I showed Nick this picture pre-stream, he goes, oh my. So ladies and gentlemen, that is Dnipro. That is the center of Dnipro. I have a lot of video coming out of Dnipro, but for me, that's the best image to show. There's two twin buildings there on the right. It's right on the Dnipro River. In fact, I stay pretty near to where those explosions are tonight when we're there.
I've got a super chat I'd like to get to in a second.
No, we'll get to, yeah, let's get to in just a second.
Question
and I got the same.
At some point
I just want to, yeah, we'll do that in
Right.
just a second. Let's finish Dnipro here. This is a large city, guys, 1 million people. And this is Russian peace. And in the Russian language, Nick, I know you understand this, we would call this Ruski Mir. So this is the Russian peace or the Russian world. That word is interchangeable. So for Mir. It's ridiculous what is happening and unacceptable that we continue to allow, and Zelenskyy calls it out tonight. We continue to allow, as citizens of this globe, Russia to terrorize Ukraine and just destroy people's lives and destroy infrastructure and destroy homes and cars and schools and hospitals and churches. Zelenskyy says that tonight. So yeah, let's get to your super chat, and I need to do the same, and then we're going to move into a different topic.
All right. Well, and I have a question for you before I do the super chat, which is, okay, so we are both in agreement that there are basically mutually exclusive goals from the Russian and Ukrainian side, and neither is going to give up since they're existential. So given that, they are doing this dance around the peace process. For Russia, we've talked about this before, they're playing for time. Is time on their side or is time on Ukrainian side? Ukraine's are starting to get more support from EU. EU is in some cases stepping up to the plate, and Ukraine has now become the single most powerful and prodigious creator of drones on the planet. Is that going to be sufficient for them to do this without U.S. help? What are your thoughts? What are they playing for in this, and can they get it?
Well, people probably won't like my answer, but time is on Russia's side. I'm sorry, time is not on Ukraine's side. Russia is bigger. Russia has more resources. Russia has, brother, we're looking at the potential of the easing of sanctions on the invading nation. Russia is requesting to be reconnected to the SWIFT system for their banking system. Russia has big allies supplying heavy weapons, Iranian Shaheeds, North Korean train full of equipment today moving through, not Kursk, through Crimea. Okay. Additionally, you have Ukraine really with no northern support because Belarus is closed. And we have the United States uncommitted right now to how things will look in the future. Right now, we still have some weapons flowing from the drawdowns from Joe Biden. We do have satellite data sharing, which Zelenskyy will speak about in just a moment. As far as the front line goes, we have stability, and Ukraine even stating that. Zelenskyy stating yesterday we have stability, and in some areas, Ukraine is doing well. But if you simply ask me the question about time, for time, Russia does have the advantage. And I want to say, oh, Ukraine's got the advantage. But when I start to lay the columns out, pro and con, it's easy to see. Today, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but France and Macron saying amazing things, $2 billion worth of French aid coming. We've got the German government resigned, and I'm not an expert on Germany. Okay. So as I see it today, Scholz is out, but we don't have the new government in place. So I don't know what the situation with Germany is. We see the situation improving potentially in Hungary. And I know one of our great guys in here, 𝐍𝐢𝐜𝐴, a Hungarian, big supporter of Ukraine and our work. We have Starmer today talking about returning children. Great message and completely true. We have the EU stating, we're probably not going to be able to send a peacekeeping force if there was a demarcation line. It's just not probably going to work. We'll have to figure out a way to do that. And then on top of that, we just see Putin still on the central stage, and we see that America is scattered in understanding and support. And I'm trying to be as fair as I can. The truth is, I don't think Ukraine can. Let me say it this way, and then you respond. Then we'll go to the super chats.
Yeah.
Can Ukraine depend on the United States?
Absolutely not.
Can Russia depend on North Korea?
Yeah, to a large degree, obviously, yes. How much, we don't know, but yes, they can depend on them.
Oh, they're bonded. Can Russia depend on Iran for supply?
Yes.
Ukraine, you asked the question.
Yep.
Who does time favor? Now, who does humanity favor? What does people from any viewpoint favor that have any view of morality at all and know right from wrong? It's Ukraine has all of those advantages. But if the question is time by itself, we have to be honest. There's a lot of things in Russia's favor right now. You want to get to your super chat, and then I want to get some as well.
Yes, well, and we can't fix the problem until we recognize that that time is an enemy of Ukraine at this moment. So they need to find a way to turn that around. Titan did for me check on the 4 Americans, and there is no news yet, but he's staying on it because that's what Titan does. And I saw your other message, Titan confirmed. Thank you very much for that. Johnny Nebgard, 22 Norwegian kroner. Hello, time travelers. We now, it's only been how many years, and we finally have time travelers. Our mods are the time cops. So this is great. Johnny, thank you very much for your support. We really appreciate it. Slava Ukraini, Heroyam Slava. And that's what we've got for now. So thank you very much for that, Johnny. We really do appreciate that support and the ability to call everybody out. Thank you guys so much.
I had a gentleman or a person. I don't know if it's a gentleman or I don't know who it is, but the name is Don't Support Rats. Became an engineer, a member at 3:41, 2.5 hours before the stream started. Thank you. I put a message in there. And Bell Ogilvy out of Arizona gifting 10 memberships early, and 𝐍𝐢𝐜𝐴 gifting 50 memberships early as well out of Hungary. Thank you, guys. People were just joining into the stream and being gifted memberships. Thank you so much for that. Dunk on you 20. Howdy, Hope Train Riders, Slava Ukraina. Thank you, Dunk on you, and thanks to all of our moderators and our teams on both channels. It's so important, unbelievably important, and we're so grateful to everybody. Dunk on you also gifting 10 memberships. Linda S. in Australia gifting 10 memberships. And Linda, this is a little better time for you now, early in the morning there in Australia. Thank you waking up early to be with us. I hope you have a nice cup of coffee there. Petra Olson with a big hug.
I'm going to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I'm going to interrupt. So I just want to point out that you are not the only one that Linda S. is a fan of, because while you were doing your super chats, one came in for us where she gifted 5 memberships to In Time. So since you just happened to bring up her name, and she seems to be such great supporters for both of us, I'm sure she would never play favorites with any time-based communities or anything like that. But thank you very much, Linda, for your 5 memberships here as well. Really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Apologies
Linda.
for the interruption.
Yeah, no, she's huge supporter there. of the pro-Ukrainian community in Ukraine. Thank you, Linda. Petra Olson, Swedish Kroner 269. That's the Swedish non-smoking initiative. Thank you, Petra. Jazz Guru, welcome to Engineer. You know, Jazz Guru, with that name, you make me want to get on my piano, which is sitting right there in front of my cameras, and start playing a little music with you there, Guru. Johnny Nedregard, Norwegian island dweller, also supporting the Hope Train. Appreciate you, Johnny, as always. F. Oink, Hungarian Franks. Am I supposed to be in this chat? Does OPSEC allow this? Absolutely, F. Oink. You better be in the chat, and you better be active there, sir. Especially with the name. I love the name, man. Oink. It's just nothing better. Mark Biscu, Canadian, Ukrainian wife, or they're in Canada, and I know their family very well. They're in Ukraine. Greg, Canadian 2799. Thanks for introducing us to Nick. Oh my. Funny how Russia claims that sanctions have no effect on them, yet getting sanctions lifted is the first thing they ask for. Come on, how about, listen, you can always count on Mark and Elena to come in with like rock solid understanding. Think about that. Oh, sanctions don't bother us. Our economy's on its own, but you know, easing them would definitely help us. Much love from me and Elena to you and your team, Greg. Thank you, Mark. Petra Olson, once again, Ukraine give Russia H 3 dots. I think that ends with E double hockey stick. HE double hockey stick. Yes, Petra. And Pyro Kurt Brubaker, one of our moderators for the Sugar Cube Fund. And thank you for that, my friend Kurt, there out in California, I believe, and doing a good job helping me on the backside with the moderation, with the questions coming in. I'm watching those, interchange those as well. Now, guys, let's go now. Haji, thank you for that 5. Go ahead.
One more, and we also got 10 just now from Pyro as well, who's also been helping us out. And it's I think you and I have audiences who are very, and you had mentioned this earlier. You know, I think both of us is Andring, who you know says this very well. I love this expression because Andring's on the right, I'm on the left. He says what you have to realize is both sides, for the most part, if they're smart people of good intention, they agree on and understand the problems. The difference between the left and the right is how to solve them, and that's it.
I think that's beautifully stated. You know, the reality is, like, you're way over here.
Yeah.
The reality is, I'm way over there. But how these images are here in these cameras, this is how we make success, and this is how we build friendship, and this is how we build a coalition that we can take our differences, bring them together, and find solution. Niels Clement, thank you for gifting the 10 memberships tonight as well. And Ida, Norwegian Kroners. The Norwegians are in the house, Ida, with the same name as my grandmother. Now, let's go to Paris, France. Ladies and gentlemen, and for all of you out there that are wondering who's going to start trolling first, today, President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, in France, meeting with Macron, preparatory meeting for the Coalition of the Willing, which will meet tomorrow. 31 nations will be there. We'll be talking about that if anything comes out of it. Zelenskyy in Paris, the Eiffel Tower lit up, $2 billion in aid coming from France, military aid. Macron, I don't want to, Viva la France. I don't know how to say it properly, but Macron, if Russia, he stated this tonight, if Russia says it is fully returning to the internationally recognized borders of Ukraine, then sanctions will be lifted. Now, before I show Zelenskyy trolling, this is a complete opposite statement of what the United States is considering right now. The easing of sanctions, the President of the United States, the President of France saying, get out of Ukraine and get back to the 91 borders, and then we'll lift sanctions. So are we headed for, like, the United States can lift sanctions, but European sanctions could stay in place, but Russia is requesting that European sanctions be lifted as well. So we have an impasse, is how I see it. Your thoughts on that?
Well, my biggest question is, okay, look, so we still have to talk the long haul problem. Zelenskyy still has a very long haul problem. He's dealing with it very well. The question is, what happens if the U.S. lifts sanctions? Now, I don't know if the U.S. can unilaterally get SWIFT back up and running I don't know if that's the IMF. I don't know who controls SWIFT, but if we're willing to buy Russian products, if we're willing to support them in one way or another, my concern is that the U.S. having such a big economy is going to be sufficient that Russia can sustain itself. The real thing that Putin has only one problem only, and that's he has to satisfy the oligarchs around him. He has to keep the money flowing for them. He has to keep them rich. He's been having a very hard time doing that recently. And I really thought that he was headed towards an open window in sometime the next maybe 6 months if the U.S. kept committed. So if, say, Kamala Harris had won, and if she had kept committed, maybe gotten more stuff to Ukraine faster, I think there was a chance of a regime change of some kind. If the U.S. folds and resumes basically normal relations with Russia, is that, in your view, sufficient for Russia to basically stay on its feet as long as it wants and continue the war and even escalate it with more able to make their own? Right now they have to buy their 𝐒𝐸𝐿s because they can't really make as many. They can't get the boards. That'll change if the U.S. resumes normal sanctions. So what happens if the U.S. alone resumes normal sanctions and the EU does not?
Good comment here, and then I'll answer you. Sanctions relief was an add-on, not discussed with Ukraine, as I understand. Correct. There was a lot of things discussed with Russia that was not discussed with Ukraine. In fact, the final documents that were drawn up, and they're not like contractual and signed by presidents or even representatives of the meetings. They were just the documents drawn up, kind of like the minutes. Herbert Nutt, thank you. UK, thank you for the coffee there. We're on completely different planets with that, as how Ukraine is viewing the sanctions relief, how the United States is viewing the sanctions relief, how Russia is viewing sanctions relief, and how the European Union is viewing sanctions relief. Now, I probably come from a view that is a little bit more negative, but it's just from my time inside Ukraine. It is also 30 years of working in Russia since 1994 and talking to people there in Ukraine on the economic side. The reality is both economies right now are devastated. The Russian economy and the Ukrainian economy. They are both dependent upon external relationships, external sources. However, the Russian economy is more equipped and already moved more toward a war economy than the Ukrainian was. Ukraine is catching up. But when it comes to, you asked the question when we started the stream, whose side is time on? And I answered you in regard to time right now, today. This could change tomorrow. Okay, this could change tomorrow. But with the playing cards we have right now, time is on Russia's side. They have access to more resources. For example, Ukraine cannot even get a lot of their resources out of their own ground and process it. Many of their coking plants and their subterranean resources, if not occupied, it is in the zones where guys cannot even work. Russia has relationships economically going on with China, with India. And I understand you get into, well, we can then go to the, for example, the price of oil. But then we can take the argument, well, the United States put tariff on Venezuela and also whoever buys from Venezuela. So is that going to cause the price of oil to go up or to go down? Will that benefit Russia, or will that be a negative for Russia? And everybody looking at that just on the surface is actually that probably will benefit Russia with that tariff, because then they'll have to look for other sources. So, and then you get to the ghost fleets, you get to everything. It is such a mess that honestly, the time and the economics right now can change tomorrow. Absolutely change tomorrow. But
and has
today,
changed more than once in this war.
That's exactly
in the
right.
first 24 hours of this war.
That's exactly right.
What was the predicted outcome? I mean, give me a break.
That's exactly right. This is why we update videos almost every day, and we do as many, lives as possible, because the facts change constantly. And it is a fluid situation. So you want fluid. Here's fluid back at you. Boom. Now we've added Vinica region in, so the Shaheeds are now here, because they were not here. They were coming around this way. So it is nonstop. This is the reality right now that Ukraine is under. Now, I will send a video today, because we're actually, let me get to that in a minute. I've got something super encouraging for you guys, and I think I'll end with that. So, John, if you're watching here from 𝐍𝐤𝐜𝐴𝐷 tonight, I'm going to show that video at the end. Now, let's do this. Nick. I got so many buttons. I told you that Zelenskyy trolled.
I did want to say, so I think for the draft document that they, or for the final document that they had on the ceasefire, Ukraine had a total of 6 hours worth of time contributed into the discussion. Russia had over 24 hours, and not like 24 like a day. They had between 20, I think it was 24 and 26 hours of meeting time with was that the U.S., or I think that was with the U.S. on drafting the original ceasefire. It's like,
well, let me make it easy for you. Forget all of that.
Done.
Forget all of that. Who had time with Putin? Witkoff. Okay? If you think that the negotiations that were happening in Saudi Arabia with lower level folks, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but we're not talking about Secretary of State's Marco Rubio. He's disappeared anyway. We have American oligarchs being the envoy represent the United States in regard to Russia and Ukraine. And I'm just telling you the truth. You guys know where I stand, but it's just the truth. Witkoff is an oligarch. He's a businessman. He's the art of the deal. He doesn't even know the names of the oblast inside Ukraine that he's supposed to be talking about and trying to gather information about and to bring back the Russian perspective. No, he brings back Russian artwork of a picture of Donald Trump and the message that Putin is praying for Trump. So you can see, listen, man, that's what you have to pay attention to. And you know this when it comes to Russia. It's all about Putin. All this other stuff is just stalling, wasting time so they can blow up more stuff and destroy more stuff. You want to talk about the Black Sea and even an effort to goodwill? I can tell you guys right now, I'm reading the Monitor. So I have a Monitor feed. These guys have hooked me up so much with so much stuff. I have a Monitor feed. I can see where every Shaheed is flying, every missile is flying, every boat is deployed, everything. There is a ship deployed in the Black Sea right now, fully loaded with cruise missiles. So even if you want to exhibit a gesture of goodwill, and like Russia would say, okay, for 30 days, we're not even going to put a Caliber class ship that can carry cruise missiles or Caliber class missiles into the Black Sea. It's going to be like our gesture of goodwill. No. Tonight, Kharkiv being smashed, Sumy being smashed, Dnipro being smashed, Shaheeds are flying everywhere. They're expecting over 200 Shaheeds tonight during the night, and there is one ship deployed full of missiles in the sea. There's no strategic aviation in way. So that's good, meaning there's no Tupolovs in the air and there's no MiG-31s in the air. So that is good. But
question for you.
That's
a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you have a Signal chat feed on your monitor?
No, I do not have Signal on my monitor.
That's from on share. That was good question. He does seem to know a lot of information for somebody who is not tied into a classified White House Signal chat room. but yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm receiving my information directly from Pete Hegseth. We've got a good private chat going. Just it's so I'm getting all the information directly from. No, I'm not, but I do have really good connections with. You get a lot of trust when you put 28 years in Ukraine and you spend time on the front lines with the troops for 3 years. You get a lot of trust. So I'm telling you guys what's happening. David L., member, engineer, 11 months. Why is Trump threatening Greenland and Canada versus diplomacy? I think Greenland and probably Canada would gladly have the U.S. help defend them. David L., that is a great comment that I completely agree with. And we're going to talk about it in just a few minutes. Hang around. Appa Talks, gifting 1 membership. I can remember Appa Talks, first time I saw him was being active in Rick the Ukrainian's stream years ago. Thank you, Appa Talks. Prepper Nation H, $10 super check. Greg, you mentioned your time spent in Ukraine. Can you do a full video on how your perceptions of Ukraine have evolved over time? Politics, economy, relationships to Russia, etc. Okay, that's actually a great idea, Prepper. It'd probably be more than one. I was very fortunate. I was there in 2004. I was there during the Orange Revolution. After that, I was there on Maidan the day after that happened. I was in Donetsk in 12 and early 16 when all of this was going bad. Yes, lots of things have changed inside Ukraine, and I think that'll be fantastic. So here we go, guys. Thank you, Cheryl, for that. You should be the chief negotiator. I appreciate that comment. So thank you. All right. Are you guys ready for the troll of the night? The troll of the night, and I can confirm to you, before I show you this video clip, it is already on Russian media. So they've already got it. Mainstream media in Russia already has this clip tonight, and they're working it. This is the clip right here.
Society depends on its age and vice versa. He'll die soon, that's a fact, and it'll all be over. He might resolve his issues before his safe yet unremarkable life ends.
There you have it. Tonight, Zelenskyy. I'll play it one more time for you guys.
Society depends on its age and vice versa. He'll die soon, that's a fact, and it'll all be over. He might resolve his issues before his safe yet unremarkable life ends.
There you have it. And listen, okay. When was that? I want people to understand. When was that? Just a couple of hours ago on French and European television. In fact, probably some of you watching this stream in Europe, you may have seen this if you're in France tonight. Zelenskyy being interviewed there, and he called it on purpose, of course. Okay. He then goes on to say, that's why it's so much wiser just to stand with us. I'm a younger leader. He can play that. It's like a Ronald Reagan thing, quick on his feet. And sorry for a Ronald Reagan reference to you. I know you just got 4 more gray hairs there, but I'm sorry for the Ronald Reagan reference. However, you do have to admit he was quick-witted and had the, that acting background.
He was a lot smarter than he got credit for.
He was very quick with his wit.
I won't admit that on my channel. I only admit that on yours.
Well, you are on your channel right now. We're both streaming, sir. Just a reminder. Okay, now, by the way, the point being, okay, you heard it, guys. The translation's good. He's an old guy. He's going to die. That's a fact. They are going to ride this like a rented mule, and it's already happening. So it is in mainstream media. It will hit the propaganda networks tomorrow, and there will be response from media, most likely. And I hate to make predictions. Most likely you will hear Sergei Lavrov, not Putin. You'll hear Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister, make a reference statement. If not him, it will be Peskov. One of the two will make a statement. Do you see what we're dealing with? The naivety of this young neo-Nazi talking about the death. It's a fact of our president. That's what's going to happen. And it will come tomorrow. It will definitely be on Solovyov and Margarita Simonyan. There will be a statement from Peskov or Lavrov. Put it in the bank. They'll utilize this. Now, I thought it was pretty interesting, so I wanted to show you. So these are the good things happening in France today. Now, today, also on this same program, Zelenskyy confirmed, and I'll go back here for us. Zelenskyy confirmed, and I'm going to play the video for you now, that Ukraine desperately needs United States technology and security, reconnaissance, satellite systems. This is just a couple of hours ago, President Vladimir Zelenskyy.
Without U.S. intel, we can't track Russian ballistic missiles targeting our people. These missiles hit civilian targets, power, schools, universities, churches. You know this. Thousands of missiles, and we can't warn civilians to take shelter in time. We lack this data. We never had direct access. Partners always relayed it to us. I fought for this since the war began. I pleaded, give us direct access, it's faster. But we didn't have it. Still, we're grateful. We've made progress. It's our team's success.
Interesting right here. He's confirming, that intelligence information is very important to us, but there's 2 points I took from that and get your thought on it. It's just caring because Russia strikes civilian targets. So this information is vital for Ukraine to have. And now we're learning tonight, and this is the first time I've heard it, that actually Ukraine doesn't even receive it directly from the United States, nor have they during the full war. So that's both administrations, okay? They haven't during the whole war. So I want to be fair about that. But the reality is they're receiving it from third party, which is through Europe. And he's fought for getting direct access. Even the argument, Nick, help us save our people's lives. I can personally tell you, I played you guys that little video clip of just the Shaheeds flying over Kharkiv tonight. I've been under a glide bomb 2 blocks over. A glide bomb, where it literally shakes the bones out of your body. And I saw the fear in soldiers' faces. So therefore there was fear in my faces because they said, we got to go now. And we bolted. In Odessa was under a ballistic missile attack. There's no warning, guys. You're walking down the street and boom, there's an explosion. You don't even hear the missile incoming. It's that fast. Striking civilian targets. Why on earth would this even be a discussion? Forget military supply. But if we're trying to save people's lives, children, hospitals, why is that even a question, Nick? It makes no sense to me. It's morality.
I'm sorry. You are talking about the current administration, right?
I'm talking about both, to be fair, because they haven't had that technology for 3 years, although it is this current administration that did stop it fully. So I want
and
to
that's
be
where the question.
fair.
So that's where the question lies. So von Clausewitz said that war is politics waged by other means, and why Biden didn't do it, I have no idea. This is also the first time I've heard of that.
And that's directly from Zelenskyy.
Yeah, that's Zelenskyy.
Okay.
I have no doubt that that's the
a
case.
source.
I'm not questioning it. And Zelenskyy, for a number of reasons, almost cannot lie, because if he gets busted lying even once, they paint him with that brush for the rest of the war, and he's got big problems. So I have no doubt that's the case.
Great
I
comment
am
there,
curious
by the way.
as to why. Thank you.
Completely
I am curious
agree.
as to why. Now the Biden administration never supported as much as those of us who are pro-Ukraine would have liked. There was a large amount allocated, but up until he realized that he was not going to be coming back into office, only about 10% of that had actually gotten in. Now it's about half. Why not? Well, is he just trying to bleed the Russians dry, have them collapse like Reagan may have done with Afghanistan, and literally was a huge part of the collapse of the Soviet Union? Or Was he just trying to make sure that he got reelected? Because if he didn't get elected, there were people who said, you don't know what Trump's going to do. I know what Trump's going to do. Deutsche Bank has lent Trump $2 billion US dollars, and Deutsche Bank, most of those loans have been backed by the Bank of Moscow, which is headed by Vladimir Putin. Trump has declared bankruptcy how many times? After he lost the casino and his hotel, nobody in the U.S. would touch him because he declared bankruptcy on these things, which means nobody's getting their money back. So where did all this new money came from? Most of it came from Deutsche Bank. It was essentially laundering it for the Russians. He is going to do what they want one way or the other. Has he made a good show of maybe going another way? Yes, but I have seen no evidence, none, that A, they don't have some form of compromat on him, and B, and let me rephrase that. We have some evidence that they've got compromat on him. There's the Steele dossier, a number of pieces of which have been confirmed, and he owes them a tremendous amount of money. So I think that it was always, a vote for Trump was not the end of Ukraine, but it was a significant step in that direction. So why didn't he do it? I think he felt that he was vulnerable in trying to get reelected to, why are you helping these strangers, the Ukrainians? I ultimately, I don't know why. He should have done that. Why Trump doesn't do it? Because it's bargaining power. That laugh was legitimate. You cannot ask why. You cannot say it's an ethical question and have that read to the Trump administration as anything but the Charlie Brown school teacher talking. I can't make ethical considerations.
I can't argue with that viewpoint at all. I'm just disappointed that no matter what your perspective is, your view, and it's not just politically and not even just American or whatever country you're from tonight watching, why is there even discussion? The proof is there. And, you heard Starmer today talking about the return of these stolen children. And the real numbers are upwards of 20,000. Numbers have been out there with hundreds of thousands, but I'm talking, and it may be, but numbers that I would be comfortable with validating, 20,000 stolen, taken into Russia. But then you have to add on to that the hundreds of thousands of children living in occupied territories whose lives have been changed forever. So that's where they get the hundreds of thousands of numbers. And I'm cool with that. Additionally, it's about a week ago, I showed a video where a lady was gloating at a meeting with Trump about having her new 4-year-old daughter from Kherson, and she was calling her Moja malinki solneczka, my little sunshine, my little princess, my little princess. And they just gloat about it. And Putin asked her, how old is the little girl? And the lady said, oh, she's 4 years old. And so when it comes down to it, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And yes, it's spearheaded by the United States right now, that for some reason we're just turning a deaf ear and a blind eye to obvious. And I know terrible things happen in Israel and Gaza. I know terrible things happen in Myanmar. I know China has exterminated 13 million Muslims in Western China. I know, I've worked in Africa since 2014, the devastating tribal actions that are really instigated by Russians and Chinese. They are destabilizing Africa, and hundreds and thousands of people are killed regularly. Nobody hears about it. And yes, sometimes it's Muslim groups that are wiped out, and sometimes it's Christian groups that are wiped out, and sometimes it's schools, and it happens regularly. But the reality is those stories, as horrible as they are, do not get or garner the attention that Ukraine gets with this devastation and this massive World War II like, World War I like, and modern, soon to be, if not already, World War III like with technology and drones and potential nuclear. So Ukraine does have the prominence and the stage and and not mainstream media all the time, but social media. It's like I say all the time, Nick, and I know, you're up there in the Northeast. You never see a tractor trailer going down the freeway with a flag on the back that says, "I stand with Russia." Never. You don't go by somebody's home and see a Russian flag waving, but you can't hardly go anywhere in the United States where you don't see blue and yellow somewhere, a business saying, "I stand with Ukraine" on the bumper sticker, on the back of a car. But at the same time, we allow this evil to happen. I can also confirm to you guys tonight, coming in from Ukrainian intelligence, tonight's some of the early Shahed launches were from new locations. They were not launched from Russia. They were launched from Ukraine in occupied territory tonight. 2 new locations.
And not Crimea, I assume you mean.
There were some launched from Crimea, but I can tell you, and I'll go to the map and show everybody just so they understand. Tonight, launches.
And after that, I have one word I want to.
Yeah, launches actually came. Some of the launches came out of Mariupol, which is right here, and came out of Berdyansk, which is right here. Typically, Shaheds are launched this way, out of Crimea or out of Russia. But tonight, for the first time, 2 new strike locations. And there's been a lot of talk over the last week inside Ukraine that Russia has moved and increased their launch positions for Shaheds, 7 or 8 possible new locations to launch, and Ukraine could expect in the future up to 300 Shaheds or more in a single evening. This kind of lending credence to that, because tonight, for the first time, out of Mariupol and out of Berdyansk down there, Shaheds were launched, and this is right now still under air alarm like that. So, yeah, Nick, you're back to your comment.
Could you quickly put the Kharkiv image back up?
Be happy to.
Thank you.
Coming to your right.
So what I'd
now.
Actually, I'm sorry, the one after this, the
Dnipro?
the fires. Dnipro, sorry, I confused them. Thank you. There it is. There's Dnipro. All right. That looks like a pretty modern city to me. It looks like about any other city that,
so
I've seen a city I
let
could
me
live
tell
in.
you, I can answer that for you. The second most modern city in all of Ukraine. Kyiv #1, Dnipro #2. Fact.
So take a look at those fires, and I'd like to point something out. I empathize with people in the U.S. who say we've got our own problems. We really do. We really do. But when you take a look at, the reason you just talked about these missiles launching from inside Ukraine, not from occupied Crimea, but they're moving them, Shaheds, thank you. They're moving them closer and closer and closer. The reason they're moving them closer is because the closer they are, the less warning time there is, and civilians cannot get out of the way. These are clearly civilian targets here. There's no military here that they're hitting. So you ask yourself, what can the U.S. do? And there's a lot we can. We've talked, and we're going to talk endlessly about what we can do. But what's so tragic about the intelligence is we could not have stopped any of these missiles with that intelligence. But if that intelligence they're getting directly from the satellites, not from the U.S., we give them direct access, then we don't have to spend the 3, 4, 5 minutes it takes for our analysts to see it, get the warning, say, okay, is this approved to go send to Zelenskyy? Let's go let him know. His guys go. They pass it down the line. We pass all of that. And every one of those strikes, you save lives.
That's
one
correct.
of my favorite quotes of all time is from John F. Kennedy. He said this during the commencement speech at American University. Or in the final analysis, our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe this same air. We cherish our children's futures, and we are all mortal. The struggle of the people in that city is the same struggle of anybody in any city. and it's I'm glad that the U.S. has helped as much as it has, but it is a stain on us that we do not something as simple, something that costs us nothing, as giving an ally direct access to information that is going to be used to help move citizens away from these kinds of weapons is very difficult to grasp. And it's difficult to grasp that we voluntarily elected a man who genuinely does not care.
Yeah, that's the word
facts only.
That's the word I use is careless. And you see, you're way over here, I'm way over here, but we agree on that. It's obvious. It's careless attitude toward it. And in this situation, now there was a question in the chat. I want to bring that up. With all this tech, Martin Smith, and seeing where these drones are launched from, is there any way to stop them? What about the F-16s? Is that not enough F-16 pilots? So
I'm going to get some more water.
Okay.
I can still hear you, but I'm going to get some water. I'll be back in a second.
Get it?
Thank you.
And I can answer this question for you. The reason, Martin, that they can't stop them, A, there's too many. B, the cost of utilizing heavy or expensive air defense against Shaheeds versus ballistic and cruise missiles that are flying is drastically different. F-16s take out missiles, cruise missiles. F-16s can fight against other planes if need be. But when we're talking about hundreds of Shaheeds in the air, it's basically air defense on the ground, literally lasers, spotlights, and standard anti-air defense guns going off that you see with the red tracers going through the air. That looks like, clips from World War II or Vietnam. That's what the defense is. So it comes down to a cost factor because the Shaheeds can only do X amount of damage. The Iskander can do exponentially more than that. And then you continue on. Unfortunately, right now, Russia has changed, and I'm giving you guys on the live a preview, okay? I'll give you a preview. Russia has changed how they are attacking Ukrainian cities with Shaheeds, and this is why you're hearing about every night much more effective attacks, whether it's Dnipro, Kharkiv, Sumy, and of course, Odessa. Constantly, it was Kropyvnytsky a few days ago, Kryvyi Rih all the time. Why? Because what Russia is doing now is, A, they're sending swarms in, and they're sending them in different elevations. And this is facts, guys. They'll send drones in, Shaheeds in, about 30 to 60 meters off the ground, very low. And if you remember the soccer video I showed you, you could see the guys just looking back. They could see the Shaheed. You could hear it. And I've seen them go right over your head. We've had them right over our trucks. They go very low, very slow propeller. Some have jet propulsion now, but they swarm them in low. At the same time now, they are sending Shaheeds in with thermobaric munitions on them. Much more powerful. They can take down buildings, thermobaric. And they are bringing those in above the other Shaheeds at 2 kilometers up to 2,000 meters high. And then when the low drones get over, for example, downtown Odessa or wherever they're targeted to strike, at that moment, air defense is targeting the lower drones, but the drones that are above, they have those programmed to do a kamikaze dive straight down. So it's like they turn from a slow flying Shaheed and they turn straight down and go straight to the ground. So air defense is looking at the drones that are flying at 30 and 60 and 100 meters, and the ones coming in at 2 kilometers come in and straight dive bomb, like a kamikaze. And that's what they call them, the kamikaze. So this is why we're seeing much more effectiveness, and it's completely different ball game now with the munitions. In addition to that, new Shaheeds that have been found on the ground that run out of fuel or were taken down but still intact, because many do not have warheads. They'll just run cameras or GPS systems to figure out and to target for later missile strikes. They're running new anti-GPS jammers in them. Ukraine just reporting this over the last 2 or 3 days, all from China, that is making them more effective against against air defense, technology, electronic warfare, et cetera, et cetera. So, and there's even Ukraine coming out today and saying that, guys, you just don't get it. Even if we take down these drones with electronic warfare and we shoot them out of the air, or we cause them to change target, the ones that are still loaded, when they hit the ground, they blow up. They all blow up. So regardless, if they hit target or not, they still blow up, and it's devastating. Let's continue on. Yeah, go ahead.
2 quick things. One thing I wanted to point out: the Patriot missile system. The average missile will cost $1 million.
That's exactly right. $1 million.
You have to ask yourself every time you fire it, because they have limited amount of money. If they had complete U.S. support and we just keep sending them money, then fine. $1 million. So are you going to hit the Shaheed, or what? You have to ask where. It's a calculation you have to make with every one of them, because they have limited resources. Jer asked, what kind of services are in place or will be in place to serve the mental health needs of everyone in Ukraine that has suffered the trauma of this war?
They are just starting those programs now. In fact, it was at the beginning of this year that Zelenskyy appointed for the first time an office for, it's not like Veterans Affairs that we have in the United States, but it was specifically to represent soldiers. And it was for, their contracts, their mental health, to be a go-between. So this is a whole new world. You have a country coming out of a cocoon that's trying to blossom into a butterfly, and things we take for granted, they're just birthing. I can tell you, to be completely honest, it's a major problem. It's a major, major problem. They are aware. They are working on it. And, it's just so hard to work on it when you're in a war nonstop. And all of your resources are trying to save your nation. It's a catch-22. And I have seen, I'll just say this. I've got a lot of soldier buddies who went into the war 3 years ago, married with beautiful families, and they're now divorced. Been home 3 weeks out of 3 years. And they've lived through hell, and they come home and they're not the same person that left. This is devastating reality that Ukrainians are facing. The divorce rate has spiked unbelievably. So I'm just telling you truth, guys. I'm always going to tell you the truth, whether it's for the benefit. I'm not going to just paint hopium that these are all superheroes running around and it's Spider-Man's flying through Kharkiv. No, these are human beings, and they live in absolute hell. And it's a challenge. F. Oink, Hungarian Franks, please don't repeat the propaganda you get in direct messages from Pete Hegseth. Wait for the Kremlin to send it to you. I love that guy. Okay, F. Oink, here you go.
Slava Ukraini.
There you go, F. Oink. That one's for you. Let me get Nick back in here. There we go. Linda S., Australian $10. Australia. It's so frustrating. Ukraine was the third largest nuclear power in the world and gave it all up for independence and security, signed by the U.S. and Russia and the UK. And they got...
And France too, right?
It was, UK.
No, I'm sorry. I thought France
on that original one, it was UK, US, Russia, and Ukraine. Signed by the US and Russia, and they got nothing. Well, they did get something. They got a horrible war. And it's terrible. It's just terrible. David L., $10 super chat. Do you think Trump is actually colluding with Putin? So let me be fair. Colluding.
Define. I was going to say define it.
I'm going right.
So yeah, good idea.
This is how honest I want to be. Yes, the UK is backing. Cooperate in a secret or unlawful way in order to deceive or gain an advantage over others. Okay.
Yeah, please. And then I've got my answer.
Definitely there is secret cooperation going on for deception. I don't know how to define unlawful because I don't know what can happen or not happen actually, like legally. I'm not a lawyer and I'm not trying to split hairs here, but is there secret conversations going on between Trump and Putin? Yes, there have been more than one call. We know that. There's been up to 3, and they've not been made public, therefore they're secret. And is there deception going on? Absolutely. I believe that there is 100% deception going on. So in that context, my answer would be yes.
Yeah, I would say there is collusion happening. Are they colluding?
Yeah.
No, and it's a bit of like, listen, everybody's done something stupid. Einstein's done stupid things, really stupid things. It doesn't mean he is stupid. You can have the ongoing process of, I think there's a lot of wink and a nod. And I think there's a lot of, we understand each other and we're actually friends. There's a great scene in the movie Rounders, which is Matt Damon. They're all poker players and they play professional poker, and him and all of his buddies who can play blindfolded, they're just spectacular players. They're at a casino and 2 new players show up, and they're not, and what he said was, we're not specifically like working together, but we're not working against each other either when these new players show up, and they're not, and they know how each other plays. So there's a wink and a nod to, yeah, we're just going to take their money and then we'll play each other once they're completely wiped out. And I think Putin and Trump have that kind of relationship. It's like, yeah, we agree. We really want to run our own countries as fascist dictatorships. So we're going to kind of help each other out on that front, and then we'll worry about how to divvy up the world after that.
Here's what I would say. We have very educated and wonderful community. Lindsay Rogers coming in 5 quid. Given that Trump is with Putin, are we looking at a fait accompli? Okay, so now I've had to define collude. And I think your answer was way better than mine. Thank you. Now Lindsay asking, are we looking at a fait accompli? Once again, I've got to go to the big board, Bob, for the definition.
I can brag. I know that one. It's
a thing that has already happened or been decided before those affected hear about it, leaving them with no option but to accept it.
Latin.
You answer first, and then I'll give my opinion.
No, it is not. They're trying to turn it into one. He successfully did that with the annexation of Crimea, and that's it was for Putin a fait accompli. He was like, it's done. People were like, well, we need to negotiate. There's nothing to negotiate. It's done. So he's trying to turn it into that here. That is win or lose, whatever happens. That is not going to happen. The battle lines are drawn. The fighting is happening. He has not taken Ukraine, and it's going to be one hell of a fight to try to get it, because the world is starting to wake up to it and starting to get involved. So no, he's not going to be there with this, even with Trump's aid. Even if Trump came out tomorrow and said, this is now we are the 23rd or whatever member of the Soviet Union. I recognize the existence of the Soviet, and we go, it ain't done. It's not good news, but no.
Jazz Guru saying, man, I hope Nick is right. Dunk on you gifting 10 memberships. Purple Gerbil, Canadian 20. You are amazing. Thank you, sticker there. Thank you, Purple Gerbil. And I love Canada, by the way, just so you know. I consider you my friend. I would say this. I believe there is a desire to get Ukraine to a position, whether it's the American perspective or the Russian perspective, that they are forced into an end that is beneficial for Russia and the United States. I think that is the end goal. Whether it's already decided or not, I don't think we're there. But for sure, there is an in play that is beneficial to the bottom line for Russia and to the bottom line for the United States. Now, so I think we're fair on that. And that's why I appreciate you so much, Nick. Let's do this now. Podolyak and Donald Trump. I've got 2 video clips here, and then we're going to close out talking about Greenland, people having those questions, and Canada. Guys, you don't want to miss the video clips I'm going to play for you. You may have seen them or not, but I'm going to get Nick good and riled up before he goes.
Oh, good. Here we go.
So we're going to have goody time. But let's start here, okay? Donald Trump was asked, is Russia dragging their feet? I want to play that video clip first, and then we know on the left, that's Donald Trump. On the right, if you do not know, that is Mikhail Podolyak. He has been with Zelenskyy since the beginning there. He is an advisor to the office of the president. He is a politician there in Ukraine. He is a journalist, and he is a master negotiator, that he is trained as a master negotiator. He's really brilliant man. And he made a statement tonight specifically talking about how Ukraine is viewing and how he is viewing and the president is viewing the activity of Donald Trump. And he comes down to a point where he talks about you have to decide whether you're going to have a carrot or a stick. And it's extremely interesting. But first, the first thing we need to hear is Russia dragging their feet.
I know the conversations are ongoing, but and you can't say everything. You don't want to say everything probably about diplomacy, but we're hearing that maybe Russia is dragging its feet at this point. And Zelenskyy has shown some openness, especially after what happened in the Oval Office a few weeks ago. Is that accurate at this point?
I don't know. I mean, I'll let you know at a certain point, but I think that Russia wants to see an end to it, but it could be they're dragging their feet. I've done it over the years. You know, I don't want to sign a contract. I want to sort of stay in the game, but maybe I don't want to do it quite. I'm not sure. But no, I think Russia would like to see it end, and I think Zelenskyy would like to see it end at this point.
First of all, I want to be completely fair. Okay? That was a conservative news site. And at least they asked the question. It appears that Zelenskyy is more open to this, especially after what happened in the White House. So thank you for at least asking that question. Is Russia dragging their feet? Well, you know, I don't think so. Well, actually, they might be. But, you know, I've done that as a businessman. That's just a tactic. The bottom line is the answer should have been yes. We had a truce. They came back with a response that they wanted things changed. As you guys can see now, I have rattled Nick. He has moved closer to the camera. Okay, so the bottom line is there was. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It was a vacuous statement. His answer would have been true no matter what. Russia absolutely wants an end to this. Yes, Russia wants an end to this. They want to end this tomorrow.
They want the 4
So
territories,
does Ukraine.
the 5.
But that's how they want it ended. The question isn't who wants to end it more. The question is, how do they want to end it? Yes, Russia wants to end it. Are you kidding me? Putin wants this over 3 years ago. Thanks
in 3
Trump,
days
for stating the yes. Nobody is contesting that both sides want this over. That is not in contention by any human being with an IQ over that of a pistachio nut. The question is, how do you do it? Now, there are many ways to do it. Some of them have absolutely no concern for things like fairness, history, justice, the integrity of nations, just the basics of what you would call civilization. And some have a great deal of concern for that. And then there's a wide range in between. But yeah, thank you, Donnie. Yeah, I agree that Russia does want an end to this. That is completely counterproductive to admit that fact, because that's not the issue. They are dragging their feet because, again, time is on their side, as you said.
White Wolf Woman, Putler just wants to end the war on his own terms.
Yeah.
That's it, guys. And so isn't it amazing how much stuff we actually agree on? It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's just, well, this is the problem, actually. The reality is human beings are 99.9% the same. Go get into our DNA, get into it. Doesn't matter the color. Doesn't matter if I put a man and a woman next to each other and say describe the differences. You'd sit there and say, well, here are some of the differences. If I put a man and a dog next to each other, would it matter if the man was a woman or not? No, because the differences between a human being and a dog are so staggering. Now do a person and a tree. We are the most adaptable species on the planet. But here's why that's a problem. Because we start to see our differences much clearer than we see that which unites us.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that which unites us becomes an active thing that you have to practice and remember to do. That's what compassion is. That's what empathy is remembering that we have so much more in common than the little things that sometimes we'll start a war over. When you're sitting there going, by the end of the Civil War, people were sitting there going like, why the hell did we just do that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that the general consensus was that was one of the dumbest things the U.S. had ever done, and they went into it both sides willingly, and each side thinking it was going to last 3 months.
Correct.
It becomes, because of our adaptability, that which has made us the dominant species of the planet. It becomes necessary to remind yourself, and this is what you're bringing up, and I'm just piggybacking on it. It becomes necessary to engage in the exercise of remembering there is that which unites us is 1,000-fold greater than that which divides us, but we are programmed to see that which divides us.
Well, I just want to be fair. That's it.
Yeah.
I want to be fair and ethical, because to be quite honest, that was a word salad. Okay? But see, that's exactly what the MAGA world, and I'll be honest with you, Kamala Harris was not the best speaker. She could mix words up. It's just a fact. Okay? Video proves it. But no difference than what Donald Trump just did. That was equally a word salad. So if you're going to call it fair, call it fair. Everybody's word salading. Okay? I mean, it's easy to see. If the Signal debacle, and I'll just leave it at that. Okay? Basically, Signal must be used on personal phones as well. It can't be on government phones, et cetera, et cetera. You go into all of that, and okay, well, it was this or that. Regardless, that level of information dropping publicly is unacceptable. And if it had, and I know there's been people talking about the Hillary Clinton emails and all of that. Let's take everything off. Let's just call it equal and equal, or not equal and equal. If the same thing had happened with Biden's administration 12 months ago, okay, let me tell you something. They would have marched on DC. So if you're going to call it fair, call it fair. That's all I'm saying as a conservative. Call it fair.
To be clear, Michelle Michaels, he was referring to Trump as word salad, not to what I said, although I have been accused of word salad more than once. Also, I would like to point something out. For those of you who Greg and I share a lot of the same interests. Our channels share similar styles and desires in terms of direction and focus. I think you focus, of course, on Ukraine, but the truth matters to you, and you believe in education, and you believe in being proactive in time very much the same way. We do have news. We've had it for a little while now, but just since you brought it up, Brian Taylor Cohen has put out that top Trump officials' private data, including their passwords, have now surfaced online, including those for Pete Hegseth, Mike Waltz, and Tulsi Gabbard. So that would suggest that somebody has, and while Signal was encrypted end-to-end, once it's on the phone, it's not encrypted anymore, which is why, as you said, it cannot be used on government phones.
Correct. So
it appears somebody has hacked it and released their password information, whether it's to their Signal account, we don't know. I'm a little busy right now, so I'm not going to get into it. But for those of you who are interested in the news element of it, a little update, little fun we're going to have with that tonight, I think, later on our channel.
Bro,
anyways,
it's listen, I'm just going to be completely honest. If that type of security is blown off and considered as, no big deal, no problem, you have no idea the enemy you're fighting. Because I'm going to tell you, Russia is a master of the technology. Ukraine is a master of the technology. And I'm not being negative toward Ukraine. I'm just telling you the level out there. And if we think that these little mistakes or these are just little snafus and, oh, it's no big deal, you have no idea what you have unlocked for our enemies. And they're on it immediately. And it will be used to our detriment, as we will continue to see. Now, let me give, if you want some updated, let me just give you this.
I screwed it up, which I have a tendency to do. Apologies. It was Michael Michaels to correct that. Apologies.
You okay now?
I don't know. I'm going to wait until you start talking again, then rudely interrupt.
Well, let me just show you.
Now's a really good time.
Yeah, let me just show you.
Just start talking and I'll whatever.
The image is coming in from Kharkiv. But, you know, there's no problem. There's no problem. There's no problem. Everything's okay. Oh, yeah. This is what shaheeds do. That's how much power these shaheeds have. They're not flying around with a stick of dynamite on them anymore, guys. Look at that.
Greg, I'm a little new at this. Is that a military installation I'm looking at?
No, it's not. That is a residential building and home. See it? It's an apartment building.
Yeah. Well, it didn't have the green camo, so I was just kind of curious as to why.
Look at the amount of shrapnel that has tattered that building.
And anyone that was near any of the windows on the bottom floor on the left.
Look at the cars.
Yeah.
Look at the impact of the crater. This is where it hit. This is where the Shaheed hit in the road. Look what it did to that building.
For my audience who may not know, what's a double tap strike?
A double tap strike is this. You hit it first, and I've been in a double tap. You get first responders there, like firemen, aid workers, know they're there, and then you hit them and you kill the aid workers. And Russia is very proficient at double taps, if not triple taps. This is what they do. But I'm just trying to show you guys tonight the reality and break it down for you in real time. And it's coming in right now. All right, let's go now. Let's hear Podolyak. We heard Trump. Let's listen to Podolyak. He is cut number 5.
For us, considering that we have aligned our positions with the United States, he sincerely believes in this today. Yes, but Russia will seek to tarnish his reputation. Well, if he wants results, he'll need to use both carrots and sticks to pressure Russia. Making concessions to Russia would damage his reputation without achieving anything. But I think he already understands this very well. While taking a step-by-step approach, he will still put pressure on Russia. I have no doubt about this. To get a non-Russian outcome, assuming he's not a Russian agent, which he clearly isn't, he must pressure Russia. Only then can he get results. But Russia will do everything. Let's note, for Russia, the U.S. is an unconditional opponent, a natural enemy, despite talks of warm relations between presidents. They'll subtly work to undermine the U.S. and Trump as guarantors and avoid implementing Trump's initiatives. Russia will insist on carrying out its own initiatives unconditionally. Thus, Russia aims to dominate through its proposed initiatives. These initiatives contradict what Trump proposes. Russia wants to appear as the global dominant force, not the U.S. Only Trump will understand this. We'll see different tools used to influence Russia.
There you have it. That's coming. And I saw you on the back feed when he said he's not an agent.
Yeah.
I
I forgot that you could see that. I'm sitting there going, thank God nobody saw that live, because
saw that.
that's
But listen, this is what I appreciate about Ukraine. Nobody can accuse them of fear and panic. Podolyak laid it out logically. He said, this is what Russia wants to do. You either have to go the carrot route or the stick route, but this is what Russia wants to do. They want to be the number one player. And then he made the statement, and Trump knows this. Why is he saying that? He's saying that because Trump has the same mentality. Him and Putin have the same ideology. That's why he's saying that. Don't think that he's there just to, yeah, we know America's going to be with us. America's going to help us. They have to say that. They have to say that. But then they can paint the argument, paint the narrative the proper way, and put the truth in there. Russia wants it all. Russia wants to be the dominant player. Russia wants everything on their terms. No, he's not an agent. Okay. And people may be going, okay, well, yeah, he's an agent. I think I would listen to Podolyak. There's a difference between an agent and maybe compromised, maybe partnering with, completely different terminologies. On the word agent, not an agent. Okay. And this is why I try to use Ukrainian sources. I mean, that's just, the guy's talking to Zelenskyy every day. He's right in the office of the president. Okay. And they just do it right. But you can see Russia dragging their feet. And then Podolyak answered today why they're dragging their feet, because it puts them in a dominant position. And that's what they want to be, the alpha. Your thought on Podolyak?
I'm gonna. I think he hit the nail on the head. The Russian agent, I am going to disagree with, and I found it interesting. And we have this video of somebody put into Gronk, which is the AI owned by Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm.
Is X, Y, and Z a Russian agent? And they did this for each of the past 5 presidents. And in each case, it came back with less than a 1% chance until it got to Trump, where it said there was an 80% chance he was an agent, in the sense that he was compromised. Whether he was an a proactive or active agent who was actively being fed orders, and it differentiated between different levels of agent. And it said essentially he was either compromised or what you'd. It wasn't the word passive agent, but it was a synonym for passive.
I saw that.
Somebody who was,
yeah, and it went all the way back through Clinton, Obama, and Bush, and they were all less than 0.01%. I completely concur with that. But when you get down to Ukraine fighting for their lives, they're trying to choose the proper way for their statements. So for me, it's brilliant. For me. Oh, no.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a very good point. That's a very good. He has to be. He has to be. I missed that. He cannot say it. Even if he believed it, he couldn't say it.
That's right.
And I think he's very. And what he is saying is, I think, strictly speaking, true, because the question is he like an active agent, like what's her name? I keep forgetting her name. She was in the Russian equivalent of the NRA, and then she infiltrated. I'll remember it in a little while. She was an agent. She got kicked
Correct.
out. He's not that.
This is why I suggest for people on my channel, your channel, and all the other channels we partner with, you really need to listen to certain Ukrainians, because they really will tell you the truth, and they will articulate it in a way that is very wise, because this information is flowing everywhere. And the way he stated it, the way he put the onus back on the U.S. Hey, the U.S. is going to work with us. We got confident in that. We got confident in Trump. He's not an agent. But right now you need to understand Russia's playing their game. Russia is the one calling the shots. They want to be the dominant dog. The message is getting there. A lot of wisdom in that. So now Putin today also made a statement, and this is incredible. This is how he communicates. Oh, buddy, this is good. Here we go. Putin says, we have friends. Now, we know that Donald Trump has stated openly multiple times that he has a friendship with Vladimir Putin, with Kim Jong-un, and Xi Jinping. It's a fact. Yeah. It's undeniable. Vladimir Putin also stating today, we have friends. I'm sure he considers Donald his friend, Mr. Trump, and Kim Jong-un, and Xi Jinping, and the Ayatollah Khomeini, and Lukashenko. Now, that's a crew right there, buddy. That's the crew. Okay?
Yeah.
But today, I voiced this video over. I had my friend in Ukraine translate it because I wanted every perfect word. I didn't want to be 80 or 90% correct. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Vladimir Putin. I try to put the right inflections on it, and the translation is 100% perfection. Here you go. Vladimir Putin talking about his friends. The fact is that we have a lot of friends everywhere. In the West, in the East, in the North, in the South, all over the world. And we have many more friends than people who don't really understand us. There are people who are in the so-called West that we just mentioned. There are people who do not understand Russia. But this does not prevent us from living and from developing, and this should only set us up to increase the number of people who understand us and want to live with us in peace and friendship. Perfect translation, my friend. Perfect. I don't know what was better. The words he said, and then he calls it. We have friends in the North, the South, the East, and the West, but even those in the West, they don't understand that it's all about us. It's the same thing that Podolyak just said. That's the message. We're the alpha dog. Now, for me, he's sitting there communicating to a table full of youth leaders and youth military, and you could see the girl with the bows in her hair and the young military guy in the military uniform. This is what he does, and his view is you have to understand Russia. You don't understand Russia, but we hope that they will understand Russia and want to live our way with us in peace and harmony. That's the message. It's unbelievable. Is she the cheerleader or the pom-poms? I didn't want to make fun of that girl, but I'm telling you right now.
It made it hard to take as seriously as one would like.
Hey, but that is okay, I can't help it. Understand Russia. But this does not prevent us. Yay! I'm with Vladimir Putin. I try to keep serious as I can, but oh my goodness, man.
I still read so slowly that it's just because it's been a while since I've had this. I'm just sitting here trying to read it. Oh dear.
It's got their names and their titles. Oh my goodness. And I don't want to make fun of people I don't know, but it's just this is what they do. This is Russia's statement. Well, let's get to the last topic. You're right. He was laughing. She was laughing. It's just that's a great comment there.
Sometimes you need to laugh because it's laugh or cry with some of these situations.
Here you go. This is a great comment. Yanni DuPont or Yanni DuPont, they are good at the whole creepy stuff. You are right about that. They're masters of the creepy. Now, let's get to the last topic of the night, Nick. And this one I really want to get your opinion on. And guys, you've been waiting around here because I put it out there that I'm going to show you, and I'm sure we have such an educated group that you've seen a lot of this, but I did some digging, Nick, on the Greenland-Canadian narrative. I did a video on it today, and I showed on the video my sources, U.S. Naval Institute, which is nonprofit. It is nonpartisan. It signs, and it's for promoting naval and Coast Guard activities and all that in their analysis. And it was really good. The reality is this, ladies and gentlemen. Russia basically has access, ownership, rights to 50% of the Arctic Circle, like 46% of the Arctic. Scandinavia, which is Norway, okay? It's Norway. They have a slice of the pie. Denmark, through Greenland there on the top right, about 2 o'clock in the gray, has a significant reach into that Arctic Circle. And then Canada by far has the second largest reach into the Arctic Circle. The only little sliver that the United States has is at the very bottom, a very little piece of the pie cutting up above Alaska with their rights, our rights as an American, into that Arctic Circle. Now, if you look at that map logically and take 6 o'clock and go to the right, if we're looking at a clock dial, and you were to add in Canada, the green, and Greenland, the gray, then we have the development and the beginning of the same type of coverage and access to that Arctic Circle to counteract Russia or to stand against Russia. So when you begin to hear all these arguments, Canada is going to be the 51st state, and just the way it was so derogatory towards Trudeau when he was in office, calling him, the governor of the 51st state, and the rhetoric going back and forth and tariffs and arguments between the United States. I mean, there was no arguments from Canada. Trump started it. So Canada defending their position, and then all the poor rhetoric in regard to Greenland. In fact, today on the video, I looked up on the video live news sources, and everything, all the recent articles from multiple sources, both right and left and middle, were saying the same thing. Greenland doesn't want America there. You're really not welcome. Denmark, our relationship was with Denmark, and we've even heard, 4 or 5 days ago, Donald Trump, disparagingly speaking about Denmark. They failed Greenland, and Europe has failed Greenland, and we don't care if they're screaming about this. This is what we're going to do. Now, I did a little drawdown here, and this is a little bit better picture. I'm sorry for my artwork there, but the blue arrow at the top, about 11:30, is the only direct access coming in above Alaska that the United States has to this. Going to the left, it's just confirming map, Canada and Greenland. If you then add into the blue, which is Norway, really, you then have an equal view to stand against Russia. That is what this is all about. Additionally,
was that drawn by Trump? Sorry, didn't mean to.
That's my.
Did you take out a Sharpie and just okay, this is
I did it on my computer, and my hand wasn't that steady, but it's showing who has the access to the north.
I'm being an ass. I'm interrupting,
you see the big red there, and you see how small a percentage of American access there actually is. And then when you take it a step deeper, you see these Russian installations stretching from Alaska. And it's hard to think about it on a globe, but unless there's flat earthers here, we're not going there, just messing with you. But on the globe, up at the North Pole, stretching from Alaska, wrapping around Russia, basically swallowing a large portion of that northern globe there. The military installations that are scattered abroad over that northern Arctic Circle covers basically half of the earth, and there are partnership Chinese installations there. That is why you're hearing the rhetoric about security and about defense, and we have to take Greenland. We know that the United States has sent multiple delegations there. This is why I believe that we all of a sudden started hearing all of this rhetoric out of the blue, literally. And I know it's been talked about in the past, but not where we're at now with Greenland, and how on earth you can even bring Canada into that conversation. But now for me, I begin to look at this picture and understand and see this is directly connected to the war in Ukraine, because the United States security, national security, yesterday put out a report that they are actually concerned now that Russia could resort to nuclear activity tactically inside Ukraine. Then you hear the United States over the last week talking about we need a golden dome. comparing it to the Iron Dome, of course, over Israel. We need the Golden Dome to defend us. We have completely went back to 1965, just like that. And it's unbelievable what we're hearing. But when I see this line divided, I begin to understand more. Now, I have 2 video clips I'm going to show you, and then I'll get your thought on this and my thought on how this is divided up and why we're hearing this coming out of Trump administration. The first one, this is creepy. This is creepy.
Hey guys, it's Shady Vance, the Vice President, and you know there was so much excitement around 𝐬𝐤's visit to Greenland this Friday that I decided that I didn't want her to have all that fun by herself, and so I'm going to join her. I'm going to visit some of our guardians in the Space Force on the northwest coast of Greenland and also just check out what's going on with the security there of Greenland. As you know, it's really important. A lot of other countries have threatened Greenland, have threatened to use its territories and its waterways to threaten the United States, to threaten Canada, and of course to threaten the people of Greenland. So we're going to check out how things are going there. And I say that speaking for President Trump, we want to reinvigorate the security of the people of Greenland because we think it's important to protecting the security of the entire world. Unfortunately, leaders in both America and in Denmark, I think, ignored Greenland for far too long. That's been bad for Greenland. It's also been bad for the security of the entire world. We think we can take things in a different direction, so I'm going to go check it out.
Hale Robinson, thank you for the coffees there. Did you get out your puke bucket?
I
have people
I have
in the
a
chat
swear
going, get him
jar.
off the screen. Get him off the screen.
I have a
you need
swear
to hear it.
jar.
You need to understand. You need to hear it. This guy, the Vice President of the United States, made that video talking about, I can't let my wife 𝐬𝐤 have all the fun. I'm excited to get to Greenland to check you guys out because Denmark has done a horrible job and the EU has done a horrible job, and just come up there and check on the Space Force and check things out for us. It's like he was making an Instagram video talking about going to Disneyland. Tell me I'm wrong.
I have a swear. Listen. I have a swear jar. I don't need a puke bucket. I need my swear jar. And I knew for you, I'd have to put it really close by. Not because you make me want to swear, but because I want to be as respectful as I can be in your. I mean, there's only so much respect I can have for you. But at any rate, so he just literally. I emptied the thing like 20 minutes before the show. I put in like 3 or 4 pennies, and literally it is now overflowing just by what he said there. It is.
You ain't heard nothing yet.
Oh, dear Lord.
CZ has been with me since the beginning when I had no viewers. This is instilling fear, a scare tactic. Agreed. Secondly, I see other comments in there about the Northwest Passage. I can't believe he was a Marine. Weird way of making me angry. Michael Vuchar, I know he's on Johnny's channel all the time. U.S. going to be wiped out in the Arctic. Alaska, goodbye. You know, this is where we're at now in this world, and I appreciate all of your comments. But the reality is, okay, for me on that one, and then we're going to close out. We've been streaming almost 2 hours now, but the reality is, you can see the picture, how much access Russia has. They do have partnerships and agreements with China. The United States feels, I'm not defending them, I'm just feels threatened. So what we do, instead of making friendships and allies and trusting Canada and trusting Denmark and trusting Europe and trusting our friends in Greenland and building a coalition, we just going to take you over. That is pure evil. So that's where I stand as a conservative. That's not how you do it. What I would do is I would make the best friends I can with Canada and the best friendships I can with Denmark and the best friends I can with the great small population there in Greenland and my European friends, because together we are stronger. Together we're stronger. But this does nothing but divide and destroy. And unfortunately, I've got to empty your swear jar again. Go ahead and dump it out. You got it empty?
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, guys, one more. Maggie Go, by the way, I see you in there. Thank you for my 1-month membership. Been trying to figure out how to join. Maggie, you can join right on the homepage there. It'll say join, and when it expires, you'll get that option. And thank you for that. And Maggie, good news for you. Your flag is en route. Finally, the post office was able to ship it to Canada. Yes. There was a breakdown with the Canadian Post, but we're good. So I wanted to call that out. Okay. Swear jar empty. Ladies and gentlemen.
It is, sir.
This was on Rumble earlier today. On Rumble, you're going to see the interviewer and you're going to hear a voice you probably recognize. But I know for a lot of you out there, at least you won't have to see a face. But you'll know the voice. Here we go.
Greenland for international safety and security. We need it. We have to have it. And it's a island that from a defensive posture and even offensive posture is something we need, especially with the world the way it is. And we're going to have it. And so I hate to put it that way, but we're going to have it. Modern day weapons. When you look at ships going up their shore by the hundreds, it's a busy place, and it's really something we have to have.
Do you think the people of Greenland are eager to become American citizens?
I don't know. I don't think they're eager, but I think that we have to do it, and we have to convince them, and we have to have that land, because it's not possible to properly defend a large section of this earth, not just the United States, without it. So we have to have it, and I think we will have it.
No, that. Just bring me that. No, I know. I already filled 3 swear jars. That I know.
You've moved to a 5-gallon
I know it's a
bucket.
trash can. You just bring it over. I'm trying to be a professional here. You're not helping. Thank you. Thank you. No, okay, that's great.
Here's all I'm going to say. He did sound a little intoxicated there. Seeing that he must have took a sleeping pill before that interview. But I will say this. It's extremely disappointing and disgusting. I'm just sorry. And I see my Australian mod in the house tonight as well. Skeg, I'm on your time zone tonight, brother. Welcome down under. Skeg had been with me forever. Love you, bro. Love to your family down there in Australia. We got to have it. It's for our security. And it's not just for the security of the United States, but others as well. Well, are they going to be excited to be American citizens? Well, yeah, I don't know. So they've already thought about this process of it somehow becoming American.
No, я так слушал это. Я слушал. That's not the first time I've heard that. Где это? Я не помню, кто это сказал.
Он сказал, я не помню, кто сказал. We've now went to the Russian language, and I will translate, Nick, for you guys. This is why you're here tonight, because we can drop in the Russian on you. He says, I've heard that before, but I don't remember who said that and what they were talking about. I'll answer. Nick, it's the same way that Vladimir Putin talks. And it was the same statements he made about Ukraine. And to ignore the parallels, and this is coming from a conservative, you're a liberal, to ignore the parallels is absolutely the wrong pathway to go down. It is blatantly obvious that it is the same rhetoric that comes out of Vladimir Putin's mouth. And that is why I wanted to end the program tonight and show that you cannot deny it. It's the same rhetoric. But you see, it's okay for the president of the United States to say that, but it's not okay for the evil dictator Vladimir Putin to say that. No. It's the same message, and it's wrong. And that is not how to deal with security. It's not how to handle international relations. This is not a joyride going to Disneyland. And I know you were so excited that my wife was there. I don't want her to have all the fun. So I'm coming too to check you out because Denmark, you suck at take care of Greenland. It's not the America that I know. And it's a tragedy. And unfortunately, and this is what Podolyak was saying, that it confirms Vladimir Putin and empowers him to do more and more and more. And that's the ultimate tragedy of it. I'll give you the last thoughts, brother, and then I'll get the last chats here.
I think there's a lot of concern in the United States, and for good reason. The potential collapse of the Social Security Department. In fact, the head administrator said, "I'm shutting it down," and then changed his mind when a judge clarified. But having said that, there's a tremendous amount of uncertainty, and when I watch us threatening our neighbors to the north and to the south, and boy, are we threatening them. This is not small, and he sits there and makes it out like we're the victims, and we are threatening allies that have been allies and neighbors with us for generations, and we're doing so casually and without a thought. This is not the country I know. I really hate saying that because I feel like I'm an old granddad, like, well, back in my day, but and it's all very terrifying. It changed very rapidly. And it can change back, but it takes a lot of work. It takes building and fostering relationships with intelligent people and people like Greg as well. It takes communities coming together, and aside from protesting, trying to find ways to work with their state governments and trying to bring out the fact that we see this and to make hay out of the Hegseth thing. The truth be told, I've seen mistakes like that before. I think they do need to be stopped. But I'm going to be partisan for a minute and say, well, because it's Trump, I'm going to make a big deal about this, because if I can slow down the Trump agenda in any way whatsoever, I consider that a win. But there's an old saying, how do I know that a small group of dedicated people can change the world? Well, the way I know that is it's the only way the world has ever changed. And if you take a look at what Zelenskyy is doing and what he has done with a small group of dedicated people, I don't think the U.S. has faced a crisis like we are facing now in our government with Trump in charge, ostensibly an agent for Russia, certainly a buddy of Russia's, and helping them out, which is a really bad idea. Yeah.
And using similar rhetoric, which is
so un-American. It's
Listen, you have to understand Russian culture, the Soviet mentality, and get inside the mind of Vladimir Putin a little bit. I'd like to have Starsky here right now. He would just nail this to the door. All that does is empower, and we can talk about Greenland and Canada and all of that, and go deep into that, and it's how tragic it is to just deal with our friends that way. But the war in Ukraine, all you did in making that statement was you empowered Vladimir Putin to wage war and hell on Ukraine. And it's just a fact. That's all you did, because they listen to each other. They feed off of each other. And that is what is so tragic about it. Dunk on you. The U.S. government, $20 super chat, is now a cacistocracy. That is, we've had to go to the dictionary tonight because we have so many.
Yeah.
I
want to say one more thing.
Is government by the least suitable or competent citizens of a state.
Oh, that's a good one.
You like that
so
one?
I do. I want to, and I want to finish with this though, which is that
we're not finished yet. Hold on.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Well, a
I will shut up. I have a hard
cacostocracy,
time
I
doing
would
that.
then say, so a cacostocracy is crazy. There you go. All right. So thank you for that, Dunk. Let me get to the last ones here then. And Nick, you going to close it out. Purple Gerbil Canadian 20. Why would the U.S. bail on Ukraine after spending billions? Sounds like duplicity, hypocrisy. I'm hoping the U.S. is not going to bail. I'm just going to leave it there. Lindsey Rogers, 10 pounds. If we have no account of history, we will see a repeat of what happened in the First World War. The Armistice Treaty was the fuel for the start of the Second World. Great comment there, Lindsey. I would also say I started as a history major in university, wanted to be a lawyer. Life went a different route, and I ended up in Moscow. So that's my life. But I will tell you this, if you don't pay attention to history, you're definitely doomed to repeat it. And I think it was Roy Rogers that says history may not repeat, but it will rhyme. I think it's Roy Rogers. I'll look it up. But Lindsey Rogers, what's the difference between word salad and verbal diarrhea? I think it would be what salad dressing is on the mixed up words. Okay. Minister for the Recovery of Stolen Toilets down under Australian $2. Good day, Greg and Nick. The evil we fight every day. Thank you, mate. Pyro Kurt Brubaker, one of my great moderators. When are you going to give away another Ukrainian battle flag signed by Fish? Probably next week. Takes a lot of work behind the scenes to do that, and we'll get it done. I have some more to give away. Maggie Go found the way to be the crew member thanks to the Hope Train. Niels Clement, member. I don't know if you know this, but both the Faroe Islands and Greenland have chosen to remain outside Denmark's EU membership, but the EU is an important partner for the Faroe Islands and Greenland. Did not know that, Niels, and thank you. I think there's going to be a lot more coming out that we're going to be learning because the rhetoric now is increasing and Vance is heading back. And I mean, the repercussions are going to be unfolding. We're going to all be learning a lot more about this region together. Maggie Go, Canadian 13.99. Thank you as well. Linda S, Australia. How is 𝐍𝐤𝐜𝐻 doing? I need to answer that one. 𝐍𝐤𝐜𝐻 is doing better. He was in Kyiv. He was on the front lines dropping aid. Thank you guys that give to the Sugar Cube funds and others. Then he was in Kyiv. He had doctor's appointments. His son, who had broken his leg, at doctor's appointments. He's back now in our base, and you guys will be seeing him on here on a live very, very soon. So thank you for all of that. Nick, I'll give it to you for the last comment there and close out. And thank you to End Time Independent News and Nicholas Lamar Soutter. And to
thank you very
all the
much.
peeps on the Hope Train. Thank you guys.
So
it's been a great stream, man.
It's been a delightful stream. You and I both like to talk. We like to talk about the same things, so it goes on for a little while. But it's always a lot of fun. So first of all, thank you very much for proposing this. It has been an absolute delight, and I'd like to thank our mods and everyone on our channel who's been running it. My channel is In Time Independent News. We're a news channel, but we do believe that the war in Ukraine is extraordinarily important. It is about as important as anything else that's going on. So we cover it quite extensively, as well as covering what's going on in the U.S. and any other international news that's important. I get the question a lot, how do you keep up hope? And this is one of the things that we were talking about, and Zelenskyy seems to be made of this stuff. And it's amazing when you see people facing such odds and they manage to keep up the hope. And the one thing I did want to say, on top of saying thank you again to Greg for proposing this and for hosting it, because if we were hosting it on In Time, we'd still be waiting to start. And so thank you for that. But one of the things when I first saw Greg's channel, aside from the fact that he said facts only, and I've said this before, he said facts only, I was just like, yeah, right, okay. And then I watched the show, and there were facts that I knew not many people knew. And he comes out and he hits them. I was like, ooh, he's being honest about it. And then the hope train, and I was just like, okay, what does that mean? And trying to keep away from hopium, from the idea that we live in denial, because if you live in denial about the reality, you cannot fix the reality. So hopium is about the most dangerous stuff you can have. So how do you have hope without hopium? And the closest answer that I've got, and this is one of the things just that I like that hope is baked into Greg Terry's channel, which is the Greg Terry Experience for those of you on in time right now, if you want to check it out. Although I think most of you have seen him on, he comes on and it's just, it's when he was on Downtime, oh my God. He took to it like a fish to water. I was like, this was a bad idea. But at any rate, Martin Luther King Jr. said, hope is taking the first step without seeing the entire staircase. And I always thought that was a great, I don't know how we're going to stop Trump's agenda. I do know there are a lot of people trying, and I know that there's some people who've managed to get organized, some who haven't, and I know that there are blunders on their side that help. We're going to need some luck. We're going to need people who are dedicated towards talking about the truth, and that's why on In Time we care about having an audience that is as informed as possible, just like Greg does, which is why this has been a spectacular partnership. So once again, Greg, thank you very much for doing this. It's been delightful.
And I look forward to our collaboration more, and we need to make it more regular because, we're just fair to each other. I mean, we could call this program the left and the right, but let's meet in the middle. And it's beautiful. I did promise a video at the end, and you talking about hope. I'm going to show you guys something. For those of you that stuck around, you're going to like this. I promise you. But I also want to say thank you to you, Nick. Thank you to our moderators. I have a great moderator team. Blonde Bombsheller, Dunk on You 23, Pyro Kurt Brubaker, Jeffrey Burnett, Skeghead down in Australia, and there are others. Just thank you guys. Appreciate you so much because you don't know how important it is that you taking care of everything. I'm watching chat here. If you guys are wondering how I'm seeing all of the chat and then pushing it up, I'm watching everything on the vMix, and then I just hit a button and I can send it to the live. But there's so much going on. So just thank you. And thank you, Nick. And we'll be back at this again sooner than later. Now, I was sent a video a few hours ago by a friend of mine named John. And I'm going to leave it at that. He is in the city of Kramatorsk right now. And Kramatorsk is out in eastern Ukraine in the Donetsk region. And I want to show you reality today. Kramatorsk, Ukraine. And this is a little bit of hope for you guys. John, I met out running the front lines with Peter Fouché, and this guy does so much work for Ukraine, chocolates and candies and delivering stuff from Europe and feeding people. Today, he was in Kramatorsk inside a church feeding people who needed food. You want to talk about reality? Here it is. He sent me this.
The door has been opened. Within like a minute, the whole place is full up with the IDPs. We're getting fed by Edward and his father and the church community. It's absolutely beautiful.
There you go. So I hope that gives us a little smile, gives you reality. People out there doing the right thing. And he said the DPs, the displaced persons there, they're hungry. And they're being fed. So we're making a difference, Nick. Thank you, brother.
Thank you too, sir.
My mother just walked in the studio.
Yeah.
Can you guys believe this? My mother just walked in the studio.
My swear jar.
No,
don't tell her about my swear jar.
Come over here, mother. Come over here, mother. You guys want this? My mother just walked into the studio over here. All right. Now that you've hung around, come on, mother. Come on, look right into the camera, mother. Say hello to everybody. Look.
Hi.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nick said it's a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, thank you.
He's from Boston.
From Boston.
And all the people in the world, look, now you're going to get all the hearts there. Greg's mom.
Aw.
You'll have to show Dad.
My sweetheart.
Thank you, mother. All right,
You're
get off the
welcome,
camera.
baby.
Get off the camera. Hey, guys, have a good night. We'll see you later. Those of you that hung around, you saw Food Kitchen in Kramatorsk, and you saw my mother. It was a good night. Nick, thank you again. Hang into the green room, bro.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Слава Україні!